All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Minutes to approve. Movement on.
Second, Mark.
Any discussion on the minutes? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Appointments, department updates, nothing from Janine. Larry, I heard like you've been busy. How many more meetings we got with you, Larry?
Probably two.
Two? We look forward to them.
Thank
Any questions for Larry? Not, we'll move on to Gary.
Yeah, my report, couple things that I'll just bring up here if I could. Just wanted to update you on the status of the arrangements with, going back to NICEAG for the PSP. I did have a meeting with the nursing home, as I mentioned on here. The nursing home is still not made a decision which direction they're gonna go at this point. But they're looking at possibly changing over, possibly not. I'm down to number 2. This month, there's a resolution for a public hearing to allow funding for the building repair reserve to replace a hardboard roof. As noted in the resolution, the director of purchasing advised me that the county could legally piggyback on Garland Company's project delivery process to the Omni Partners roofing supplies and service. And it's a piggybackable process. Got the representative, the area manager actually for Garland here to talk about any questions that you may have, but I'd like to comment a little further. There is in the box information about this process and about how they operate. I've talked to the people from Seneca County. They strictly use this process and they've been very happy with the results. Wayne County has used it on several occasions. They don't use it across the board. They've also been happy with it. Just on a side note, when they requested a list of projects for the American Rescue Act funding, this is actually on that list also. I don't know where that stands. When I processed the resolution, Lynn Marinelli actually said, well, you've got that on the list. I said, but I really need this roof to be replaced. The roof is in very, very bad shape. They've actually done inspection of 4 roofs for me. Garland has, that's what they do. They provide actually a service where they inspect the roofs, they give you a report, and then they will actually provide the roofing for you. That's how they get the money, obviously. They're a company that sells roofing materials, and very large manufacturer. And what they do is they go out to bid for us. That's their process. They have roofers bid using their products to put on the roof. The roof that I'm proposing, that he's proposing, and I'm recommending, is a 30-year roof. Most flat roofs are 15-year roofs. He's actually got a mock-up of the roof if you'd like to see it. And you can answer any questions that I can't, but I just wanted to kind of get that out there. We really need to do something about this roof. It's actually it's actively leaking. And we're at the point where we can't, our buildings and grounds people can't fix it anymore. I am gonna have a roofing company come in and secure it, because right now it's too late for this year to even get the roof done. But for next year, we're gonna need to get that as the first project for next year for buildings and grounds. So that's kind of my presentations. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at the information in the box, or if you have any questions, I'll either try to answer them or Josh can answer on that topic.
Any questions on the roofing topic?
We put a new roof on when Tucker came in as head of public works for the garage out on York Street. Is this a similar type of roof?
Well, this is, I'm gonna let Josh actually answer the type of roof. It's a modified roof. It's got 2 layers of thickness as opposed to most flat roofs just have 1 layer of waterproofing. So Josh, if you would comment on that, it's okay?
Sure, standard set of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know what type of roof is put on that building down there that you just mentioned, but what we do at Garland, being a full service roof manufacturer, is manufacturing higher performance systems that are the 30-year, 40-year systems. And what we propose to do is on that is offering 2-ply modified system, set and cold adhesive. What type of roof is down?
I honestly don't, I can't tell.
Oh, okay, I mean, do you want to see a mock-up of it, or?
On the county building?
On the highway building.
Highway roof.
So is it a single ply EPDM roof then?
Yeah.
I would say,
Yeah.
okay, so the difference between that and what we do, and, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Was it 40 mil probably?
Yeah, they're typically 45, 60 mil.
Yep.
The one that you have on the Hardboard building is a 45 mil. That particular roof, just from an educational standpoint, is you've got a concrete deck, an old built-up roof right to that concrete deck. A half inch, or excuse me, an inch and a half, I can't, I looked at the report, ISO insulation. And then on top of that is they put the single ply membrane, and then they put ballast on top of it. They put the large ballast on top of it to keep it from blowing off. So the EPDM or single ply membrane that's down there right now is not glued to that hardboard. So in my world, we utilize it, that's like a Band-Aid. You kept the existing roof in place. Cost wise, you put hardboard down or insulation down, rolled out some rubber, glued the seams, and then put ballast on it, which I say ballast is a large river rock, not like a little pea gravel that you see on a roof sometimes. That's put down to keep it from blowing off. What's happening on that roof right now is you've got severe shrinkage of the EPDM or single ply membrane, because as it ages, rubber shrinks. And if you look at some of the detailing pictures that I provided in my report, you see a lot of the edge metal itself starting to pull from the cleat, and you see a lot of the facers and coating of the edge metal also starting to pull from its face. So
Let me just interrupt for a second. One thing I forgot to mention, by way of due diligence, I actually paid Beardsley to look at that report to verify that its content was accurate and that it was, I paid them to do that because I wanted to, do my due diligence for the company as well. They agree with everything that he said. What it is.
yeah, no, and Gary just told me that, so that's
Yeah, I
great.
didn't tell him that I did that, but I felt I didn't have to tell him that. I just told him that I called him.
Yeah, no, and that's good, because we want to always make sure the information that we provide you is an educated. And if we can do, as Gary mentioned, your neighboring counties for Wayne County and Seneca County, I've been with Garland for 16 years. And I'm from, Spencerport, Monroe County. We've been a preferred manufacturer for Monroe County. I also do Livingston County. I've done buildings at Yates County, and I've done buildings in Onondaga County, Syracuse. So in essence, what we try to do is become and develop into a resource for, entities like this, municipalities, because we deal with buildings and you deal with buildings that aren't going anywhere, and they need to have long-term waterproofing solutions to that. Yes, the roofing is out of sight, out of mind, but all these, meetings like this and the investigative work that we do allows for an educated decision for the individuals, to make that. Obviously, spending dollars and spending, public money is a big deal. So having all the education out front, saying this is the existing condition, this is the existing roof, here's what needs to be done to fix it, here's what needs to be done for building code. All of that stuff gets reviewed and covered, and even Beardsley architects, I always work with architects. Some people in Seneca County, or Wayne County, they got term architects. So they say, hey, let's go and work with the term architect. Seneca County, they don't. They utilize what Gary mentioned, our Omnia contract, which is a low bid contract, and it was, yes, it piggybacks the state statute for that. So we're able to use that on municipalities and school districts, towns and whatnot. Use that a lot out in Seneca County and Wayne County, and it really keeps, not to go off on a tangent on it, but it really keeps you as far as in control of the bidding environment, as far as contractor selection, as well as the products and services that you get. I also have a project manager named Anthony Yeoman, who couldn't be here with me tonight. But outside of myself, he's an individual that between him and I, we watch the roof installation, we watch and review all the details, and we're on site to make sure the installation of the system meets code and following specs and drawings and all that stuff. We provide inspection reports, project management, and communication is big on in my world as far as roofing, because a lot of the individuals, if you have never been on that roof, not knowing what's up there, but you still need to be educated as to what it is, and then seeing the process of a nice new roof system being constructed, detailed, and installed in the same way.
We know how old that roof, the existing roof is.
The roof was put on just when we bought the building. I believe it was 2002.
Trish?
I guess, I don't know a lot about roofs, so this might be a stupid question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. In terms of like the materials and specifications, is this at the top of the line of roofing materials and products, or what? How does that?
And for Garland, yes, we're not commodity. When I say commodity, it's a single ply. So we don't sell directly to wholesale companies. Everything gets manufactured and sold through Garland. And what we could say is that we manufacture 99% of our roofing materials. I'm a Garland employee. I'm not independent and have 3 or 4 other, 5 or 6 other lines that I represent. For 16 years, Garland is a full service building envelope manufacturer, anything from the roof, walls, below grade waterproofing, standing seam. So yes, on our side, when you look at roofing, you see single ply down here, and single ply has a lot of categories within that. They're not to go off on a tangent, but there's TPO, PVC, EPDM, KEE are the basic 4. Then when you go up to the built-up roof, which back in the day used to be 3 or 4 ply glass felt or glass-based systems, hot melted and hot asphalt. And you got coal tar roofs, which, in my opinion, and a lot of coal tar weren't as bad as it usually is. It's a great roof. It's going to last 50 plus years. I mean, it's a great application. And then you got the modified roof systems, which is either a 2 or 3 ply systems. Like I said, I won't get too technical because I could bore you to death, but the components of these systems are high end, yes, from a roof manufacturing as far as the polymers and the additives added compared to a single ply roof. You can't compare apples to apples when you're talking about the roof that was mentioned earlier as far as the EPDM compared to the systems that we manufacture and so.
30-year guarantee, is that prorated?
No. 30-year, no dollar limit.
Is there any, do you come back, say like every 5 years or so, just to inspect, make sure everything's still going on? Is that part of the price?
Well, yeah, it's not part of the price because we do that as far as our service that we offer our customers. We'll come back every year. Usually on our schedule between myself and project manager, like the 4 buildings that Gary said, hey, listen, and again, I reached out to the county as a cold call. And that's what we do as representatives. And so we sat down, went through some stuff. I said, give us a chance and let us show our value. And if you're interested, great. If not, then that's fine too. So we looked at these buildings, looked at opportunities. Obviously, some are better than others. And you look at a building like that, and you say, listen, can you restore this roof and do a maintenance thing at virtually less than half the cost of replacement these days? Or is it so bad that you got to replace it? So there was options that we looked at for restoration. Some of your buildings that you have that I looked at are in decent shape. They're reaching the point and that, hey, listen, if you do these things to them, you could get another 15, 20 years out of it. Or like the building that we're talking about today, you can't restore that. There's nothing that could be done to salvage a roof like that. It's shot. I mean, you have to replace it. But yes, to your point, myself and project managers, we set it on our schedule to come back on a yearly basis. Because a lot of times, once we do one, we're already here in the county and working with individuals that we can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If we have to inspect a roof or budget or, hey, listen, what do we got to do for repairs? We can hit up the building that was installed the previous year, previous years.
Thank you.
One more. Do you do any solar installations in conjunction with new roofs?
In conjunction with, we don't do solar ourselves, but yes, we have our engineering services group within Garland. If you have a solar provider or you're looking at that option and putting on the roof, our engineering services will get involved to kind of do those calculations and making sure the attachment of whatever solar system is going on the building, or if you have one to put on, but we ourselves don't supply the solar with it. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Okay.
Tim?
You're familiar with the green roofs, the eco-friendly roofs?
Personally, I don't think so. No. I've done them.
Very interesting.
They're usually done with a grant. It's not something that somebody would spend the extra, because roofing, you got $35, $40 a square foot now for replacement. The way costs have escalated. I'll be perfectly honest with you, insulation is a problem. And that's why Gary said there's no way you'd be able to get anything done now. Installation, if a contractor would order installation, you wouldn't get it till February, March of next year. So the green stuff adds another $25 to $30 a square foot on top of the roof you've already installed. I work with the city of Rochester, and we've done a couple green roofs. They're great, they're nice, the design is there, and sustainability is great with that, but waterproofing underneath is more sustainable. Make sure that thing doesn't leak, because once it's buried, literally, it's very tough to find those things. They're great. I mean, I'm not saying they're not good, but it's costly. But then you gotta maintain it.
Talking to a conservative.
Anybody else? Thank you.
As far as the rest of my reports, just Doug's on vacation this week, so I'll comment on Parks and Trails a little bit. Fireworks went off well. We had a good day, it was a little warm. We had about 60%, we estimate participation of normal July 3rd fireworks. So it was around probably 4,000 to 5,000 people there. The extension had their animal shows at the parking lot next, or the lawn next to the Ward O'Hare Cultural Museum. That went off well as well. In my report, you've got pictures of the bridge we installed on the road. And I'm working with plumbing company on replacing some plumbing here in this building. Potentially this weekend, that we've run a little bit of a glitch. It might not be this weekend after all. If it's not, I'll reschedule for another weekend. We want to do that work during the weekend. We're basically replacing all the water, the main water coming into the building. With a meter, backflow, everything. So we'll be doing that hopefully this weekend, unless we can't work out some final details. So I'll have an announcement on that probably tomorrow. Other than that, do you have any other questions for me?
Probably one that was already answered in another committee, but the nature center bids.
Okay. The
Are
nature
they
center
more
bids,
unwilling to honor their bids?
yeah, they won't honor the bids.
Since when is that a thing?
Pardon?
Since when is that a thing?
Well, Steve actually can comment on that better than I can, so I'll let him.
So Tucker, when the bids came in, we had to rearrange the two grants and transfer money from one grant to the other. And the time that the state representatives took to do that was more than the 45 days that they were required to honor their bid. And with the pandemic increases in labor and materials, they withdrew their bid. We are checking with all the subs now to see if they want to maintain their bids or rebid when the bid goes out again. We're going to try to rebid it in September. I think 19th might be the date, so that we can maybe have the bids back by the time in October and prepare bid authorizations.
Let's say hypothetically, the bids come back 35% higher. What's that going to do to a funding wise project?
Right now, the county has only expended 2% of the total, projected price as it is now, because we got a 95% grant, and the Friends of Sterling Nature Center put 3% in. So we've only put 2% in the kitty so far, which is pretty unprecedented. Depending on what the bids look like when they come back, that's why we would come back to the legislature, because we already have authorization to award the bid if it's within the budget. But if it comes in high, we're going to come back to the legislature, present the information to the legislature, and see what the body wants to do. We have put in a request, like everybody else did, for the template for the American Rescue Plan, because it is eligible for those funds. And I think we put like an estimated number in based on a percentage, as you said. We don't know until the numbers come back.
Yeah, it's hard to say right now.
Things are stabilizing somewhat.
Anybody else have questions for Gary? Tim?
At the lake, where we with our project is Mr. Dalstry, we're gonna report on.
Doug is on vacation today, this week, so he will not, he's not on. I mean, basically, Steve probably knows more about that than maybe also, really. I mean, as far as the projects, the lake,
I'm sorry, what was the question?
The overall project at the lake for the.
The Doval Island
Yeah.
project? We submitted a CFA application with last month's authorization for architectural and engineering for the playground and the new concession using existing funds that have already been expended as matching funds. That's what we've done since last month.
Anything else for Gary before resolutions? Not, we'll move into the resolutions.
This real quick. This may have to do with your resolution. I was curious about the lifeguard situation. I did see in the update that you had one.
Yeah, as it stands right now, I'm only aware that we've received 2 lifeguard applications. And only one of them that I'm aware of. The person is 16 years old. We can't have a 16-year-old staffing a lifeguard station at the bridge. I did see.
Wait a minute, that's age discrimination.
I did see one come in today, but I didn't look at it close enough to tell you how long it is. So right now, we still have no lifeguard. That's bad news there. The other bit of bad news is the lake is starting to close and blue green algae again. So it may be a moot point anyway.
I still have my lifeguard card, still swimming at the Y every day.
Gotta apply.
But I would think that because it's a specialty type of employment, that we offer our lifeguards a little more money. What are we, minimum salary on that?
No, we were above minimum wage with our resolution this year. I had that with me, but it was significantly higher than minimum wage. Now, Doug and I did do work on the budget for next year, and we bumped them up even more, hoping to try to entice lifeguards. So there'll be a bigger differential next year.
Hopefully the country will realize that people that are working should have a little more money than the people who sit home and don't. Is there a chance of that ever happening?
Gary's next.
I think there's a chance of that happening.
Gary's the one controlling all.
I can speak with some authority on it.
All right, let's do PW1.
W1 is amending resolution 130-21, authorizing the hire of up to 4 part-time laborers, increasing the pay rate from $13 an hour to $15 an hour, and extending the authorization until date of December 31st. Reason for that is what we just talked about. Basically getting no applications at 13. I'm hoping for 15. I looked on Indeed. The average labor around here is on Indeed was $15.69 per hour. But I figure going with 15 and hope for the best. If we can't get them, we can't get them. I don't know what else to do.
Motion on PW1. Forward. Discussion on PW1.
I think it's still too low. I mean, you go to McDonald's or Burger King or Dunkin' Donuts, they're offering 16, 17. So
I agree with that.
it's like it's a futile thing. And, you know, even at 16, 17, 18, you're probably not going to get any applicants. Hate to say it, but
I think you're gonna push 20 over. So,
there is a pizzeria I know that paying $22 an hour and they can't get people to work.
If it's acceptable to you, it's not a 2/3 requirement, so if you're okay with it, we'll just delete it before Ways and Means.
Just one other question, Gary. Is it 4 out of how many total laborers or is
Well, I requested 4. We were able to fill 1 with somebody that was already working for the county, assisting with the COVID testing and so on. That person fit into it, but they're going back to college and basically next week, the 20th, whatever the 20th is. So we're gonna be down to none at that point. I've got one person who was supposed to go for orientation yesterday and didn't show up, but maybe has a legitimate excuse, we'll see. So I really, you know, I'm at the end of the road here. As far as going any higher, Ben, to be honest, the reason I don't want to go too much higher is a slap in the face of people that have been working for me. I want to keep that in perspective a little bit too.
They get benefits, so.
Well, no, I'm talking about the seasonal people that are working for me and some of the other part-time people. Yeah, if they get benefits, it's huge, but the people that don't get benefits, we wanted to put the whole thing together so it makes sense. So nobody can say, well, gee, what are you doing to me here? That's what happens. Railroad.
It's already happening everywhere.
Any other discussion on PW one? All in favor? Any opposed? It's carried.
PW two is an authorization amending resolution 197-21 to identify the source of funds for the electrical work approved for the public safety building.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Discussion on PW two.
Is this O'Connell Road?
Yeah.
This is to go back to the thread.
Yeah.
And when our news magazine says that, you know, community goals are important for communities in the future. Just throwing it out there, I'd like to see us expand municipal power.
Anybody else on PW two? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? PW three.
PW three is one we were talking about earlier, fixing the day and notice of a public hearing pursuant to New York General Municipal Law 6-D, make appropriations from the village repair reserve fund.
Move it.
Is there a second? Any discussion?
Well, in terms of if the bid comes over the reserve balance, or do you have ideas of where you work with Lynn or anything in terms of where it would come out of? that
Well,
balance?
again, as I spoke about, this is going to fall into next year before the work is actually done, but it would basically wipe out this particular reserve account. If it comes in at the rate that we projected to come in at right now. And the other option is, again, those stimulus funds. If you guys choose to use some of those funds for a project like this, we wouldn't need a such reserve. And I did put that in as a request. But that's not under my control, so I want to keep that process moving.
This is just fixing the hearing, the public hearing.
This is just for the public hearing at this point.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. PW four.
PW four is authorizing the expenditure of funds for the repair reserve account 18838 for the pavilion building and equipment to replace the refrigeration unit in the pavilion.
Move it back down.
Second. Is there discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It's carried. Anything else for Gary? No, thank you. Okay. Here before? We just did four? Yeah, my bad, sorry. I think that's what I did. All right, highway.
One thing I'd like to add to the report is we opened bids today for East Blue Street. They all come in within the realm of the budget we have within reason, so I don't see why we won't be able to award that next month, so. That's about it for me.
Any questions for highway? Tim?
We have many miles and we've always talked about keeping our roads up to date. Are we, this year, it seems like we're getting the work out quicker. Is that correct? The mileage, is it increased or same as?
Well, same as last year. Last year was down, I would believe, because of COVID. Restrictions that you had, but we're at 125 miles of road that we're either chipping or paving this year, so it is a little bit more than what you guys have done in the past.
The pricing for the material up?
It's up a little bit, maybe 10-15%.
So we should do more before it goes higher?
If we have more money, we do more.
It's all about the money.
Brian, did we have any success in finding out about the vandalism at Scott Golf Road? That's good.
I haven't heard no more than about it than the day that you and I talked about it.
Okay.
I don't think, Soil and Water really pursued it to find out, they knew they would find it. But,
I just wondered.
yeah, it was Soil and Water's machine that was smashed out of it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All right, resolutions, PW5.
That is just a resolution to fill a vacancy that was created by one guy resigned and then people moved around.
Motion,
Move it, Mark.
second, discussion. Tim,
I think before we used to have heavy equipment operators that couldn't get into a pickup truck, and pickup truck guys couldn't get in the. Didn't we work with the civil service to try to get some kind of combination where a guy could, or a woman could get into,
which time? We've gone in multiple different directions at different times.
yeah,
Well, currently your medium equipment operators, your heavy equipment operators, the main difference is the grade out. And a Class A license. Heavies can run a grade out, and they have to have a Class A license to be a heavy. Other than that, there's not much difference between the two positions.
so they can go on different machines, or
A heavy can do everything that the mediums do,
a heavy can come down.
yes.
Okay.
And a medium can do everything except run the grade out and the Class A license,
You can even run a shovel, Tim.
yes.
Willingly.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on PW5? Not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. PW6.
That is a resolution to authorize us to accept the money that was above and beyond our contract with New York State for snow and ice.
For motion,
Move it, Mark.
second, Hodge, discussion. Tim,
I know that there was a lot of discussion about how we buy rock salt and prices. Are we working with Onondaga to,
We are on Onondaga's contract this year,
and we're gonna save money?
quite a bit, 25% over what you spent last year.
Thank you.
any other discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No, I don't want you to close the meeting yet.
Okay, all right, PW6 is carried. Anything else for highway? Not, thank you. Mr. Vitale, I'll reluctantly call on you.
Oh, reluctantly. Why? So anyhow, we skipped over water and sewer really quick. And I do want to update the committee where we are. Last Wednesday, the Water and Sewer Authority Board passed a resolution approving the final draft of the regional water map plan. And so it was a little bit too quick to get on the agenda for tonight, but I would really like to find an opportunity, maybe at Ways and Means, I have to talk to that chair or whatever, to have the people, our engineer and Doug and Janine to come in and do a presentation to the legislators on where we are with the map plan and report, the changes that have been made, how we got to where we are. And my hope would be that we could pass this resolution at our legislative meeting end of the month. That way we could start looking for funds. We can start the seeker process. The important thing for you folks to know is that hopefully when we pass a resolution approving the final draft, we're not committing any county dollars. We're not committing to do anything other than to continue the process. From the grapevine, I hear there was a town meeting last night and it was well received. I think Mr. Lynch was at the presentation at City Hall. That's where we had our meeting, and I think it was fairly well received there. But I think I just want to keep emphasizing to this group that by moving forward, we're not committing a single county dollar at this point in time. If you listen to the report, the engineer, Tim, will refer to looking for county money. Everybody's looking for county money. But that doesn't mean that we're going to do that. My real hope and dream is that we can move this thing forward. It can get passed through referendum. And we will hopefully be in line to start seeking some of the infrastructure money that the federal government is passing through the Senate and things right now. I will contact Mr. Batman and I'll talk to Aileen. We'll try to find a good time for the presentation. It'll only take about 15 minutes for the presentation and then a little bit of time for questions and answers. But other than that, have any questions right now, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll look forward to that.
Any questions for Ben?
I'm all in favor of systems that work and promote healthy living and hopefully bring economic development to different areas. And hopefully we can get somebody who wants to use the water. I know that Wells College just got a $1 million grant for an upgrade for their water treatments building. Is that part of the system?
No, and I apologize. I didn't read the article, but I talked to a few people. I was always expecting them to get $200,000 to $400,000 to upgrade their pumps. I believe this one was to replace their earth filters. If the regional project goes forward, I think maybe some of this equipment can be reused in the regional project. The one thing that all the grants that they're applying for right now do not do is provide for a different intake. And that is the major problem with that water system down there, is the intake is shallow water, and when we get storms, it's the water is very turbid, and sometimes they can't pump water. They have to depend on their water towers for water for a day or two.
Well, I know that the city extended their pipes in Minneapolis and the Syracuse water project is expanding, going deeper. What concerns me is the algae blooms there's 26 of them at Hydrilla at that location. And I just don't want to build a system that's going to be shut off because of.
I agree with you, Tim. The algae blooms are something that we've always, the last 10 years, we've been very concerned about. But with the filtering systems that we have right now, we can handle that issue. What was probably a little bit more scary is the unknown, the uncertainty. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we really need a second source of water in this county.
We definitely need dual water, whether it comes from the big pond up by Tucker or whether
We still propose a pipeline coming from the north and south.
well,
I don't know where the money's coming from, but it would solve a lot of problems and we could sell water.
well, it's nice to have industrial water, drinking water, have all those systems in place, what we can afford. I don't know. But this is a rare opportunity with the infrastructure monies that are floating around.
Can you say that one again? Okay, say that again, just so they can see the minutes.
Infrastructure,
Oh, rare opportunity.
oh, rare opportunity. Well, we pass up a lot of rare opportunities. Anyways, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Vitale? Not.
Thank you, Tucker.
There's nothing else for us. I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Move it.
Second.
Like that.
All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? That's it for public works. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Plan Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Everybody in position? Live? Live, okay. Tonight, we have a person who hasn't been here in person in a year, Kelly King, in case anybody wonders who's sitting here, but Kel runs our training and, what's the title, what's the official title?
Implement and training.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Okay, so first up, we have Steve Lynch. Steve, would you like to give us a report?
Mr. Chair, I'll move the minutes if you wanna.
All right, anybody,
I'll second.
second them? All in
Oh,
favor?
I can, sorry.
Oh.
I'll second,
You'll second,
yes.
okay. Third, fourth, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's passed. Okay, Mr. Lynch?
You have my report, got highlights on the number of items. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. In addition, just like to alert everybody that we're going to have one of our new planners come to the legislature meeting on the 25th, I think it is. And give you an update on the local solid waste management plan, what that process will be, how long it will take. And we expect that the process of reaching out to communities and municipalities and talking about recycling and so on will probably generate some interest and expectation maybe of the communities and the municipalities on what the county does or does not do. So we'd like to present you with the overall plan process at the beginning, so you know what we're going to be doing. And maybe look to see if I can work with one of the committees to get feedback on what the county wants to do in the future so that we can manage expectations as we go through the process. This is an idea to kind of prepare for that. Other than that, Mr. Chair, I have just one relatively straightforward resolution.
Steve, before you go on the solid waste, didn't we not do this 10 years ago? Didn't we have a joint communique with the city of Auburn and some of the outlying towns? Isn't there a report somewhere?
Yes, there is a solid waste management plan. They have to be updated periodically for the DEC. And without having a solid waste management plan updated, nobody from any of the municipalities can bring their solid waste to the landfill.
At one time, I think we had a ban against any outside waste coming into the county years ago.
I don't know if that's.
Yeah. Which I think was.
You would know better than me probably on that one.
Okay, so that's all we got.
That's all we have.
How about the rewatering project in Brutus? I know Chris is interested in that. Like, is there a little more detail than what you got here?
The detail is in there. We are negotiating the phase 2 scope of work. Of course, when the grant was written by the town of Brutus and the town of Mentz back in 2016, going into 2017, it was a concept plan for rewatering. Now that the phase 1 flood study has been done and there's identified infrastructure work that needs to be completed, we're trying to negotiate a scope of work for all of the architectural and construction documentation and permitting that would need to be done in order to put the project out to bid and seek funding for it. That's what the grant is for. And the grant has a finite amount of money, and we're trying to negotiate with the engineering firm to do all of the work that needs to be done with the amount of money we have. And we cut the difference in half on the first round, and now we're trying to cut the half back to zero.
The Owasco Flats water quality. But anyways, Bruce worked on that for a number of years. What was the starting cost and finishing cost? Can we have an update on the first phase in regards to what we accomplished in that first phase? I know that Michelle Wonderlook is doing the second phase, but I'd love to hear how long the second phase is going to take and what the kind of expenditures we're looking at.
The project is completed. Both phases have been done. The grants are being closed out. And I'd be happy to provide the committee and the full legislature with an update on what the overall budget ended up being and the cost ended up being.
Yeah, but how many gallons of water? That type of thing would be good information as to whether or not our dollars were well spent on this project. All right. Anything else to report, Steve?
That's what I have.
Okay. You want to go to the broadband? I know that we're going to have a presentation in the future on broadband or something.
I think that the regional planning office that's working on the broadband study was planning on coming back and doing a presentation when they finalize all the survey materials and all of the mapping that they've done and present to all the different legislatures that are in the 4-county study area.
Well, after being at the health meeting last night, I know Hans and Mark were here. It looks like we have a couple more variants on their way, and possibility of maybe another stay at home and use Zoom or whatever technology we have. So hopefully we can get that up and running so that we have some connectivity if we do have to go into some kind of disastrous plan. Okay. County planning and training, and is that
Yep, Cayuga
Kelly
County
King?
Employment and Training, yep. Good evening, everybody. I do have a few things I want to touch on from my report. The first thing is that we're wrapping up with our summer youth employment program. This was my first real true full summer program that I've been involved with. I've been in employment and training for a lot of years. Youth program is something I've never directly worked in before. Happy to say no accidents, no incident reports, nobody fell off any ladders. We've been in good shape. We had 49 youth participants, and as you can see in my report, I did include some success stories because we had a lot of our youth get hired on in full-time permanent positions and in civil service, no less. So that makes me very happy. As a side note, I was speaking with Colleen, I believe it is Colleen from Human Resources, and we were kind of brainstorming some ideas in terms of how to encourage folks to apply to civil service positions because we have a lot of open positions in the county. And I'm thinking about something that Gary said in the previous committee meeting about, low wages and such. And I think that it's something that we can partner with the county and Human Resources to really emphasize the value of being a civil service employee and the benefits, the fringes and the benefits that go along with that really add to, it's more than making $16 an hour at Dunkin' Donuts. There's really no comparison, even if you're looking at $14 an hour and working in civil service with the county. So something that I'm kind of talking with Colleen about, but that's a side note. So anyway, very happy with the summer program, a lot of positive feedback. Glad that it worked out well and we were able to do everything in person this year versus last year. We couldn't do a whole lot with the summer program due to COVID, and nobody got COVID this year, so we're good. Second thing, job fair update. I feel like I've been reporting on the job fair, in-person job fair for months. We did have our job fair. Not surprised, we didn't have a huge turnout, not for lack of effort and outreach. Partnering with the Department of Labor, we probably reached out to, I would say, 10,000 job seekers in the Tri-County area that we serve. And unfortunately, not surprisingly, we had less than 10 job seekers. So very discouraging. However, it really goes to show that the workforce crisis is real. We don't have a lot of job seekers looking for jobs right now, and it really adds to, it hits home that we need to work with the employers and try to get them workers. And so we're kind of looking at new ways to approach that. Job fairs have been something in the past pre-COVID that were never very successful. The efficacy of a job fair is not great. So looking to, in my report, I talked about doing a multi-sector, larger job fair in person in the fall. I'm leaning more towards kind of reimagining the way we do that. We are starting to have mandated job search groups come into the center. They're starting to enforce people collecting benefits, both unemployment and public assistance, back required to look for work. I'm thinking about inviting employers in for our weekly job clubs and having them do a presentation, maybe a virtual tour of their company. And that will kind of just give them a little more exposure as to what jobs are out there, especially in our public assistance groups. I don't think a lot of them understand or realize all of the employers that are here locally. And if we bring them in, instead of trying to get the customer to come to us, we already have them. There's a captive audience and we'll bring the employer in and try to make some connections that way. So it's a crisis. It's our biggest challenge in employment and training. I have employers call me every day, where send me people, where are the people? And it's a challenge. It's definitely the hardest thing that we're facing in employment and training right now. So on a more positive note, last thing I want to talk about is this past month, probably we've had a significant increase in customers looking to go back to school and retraining. So that's hopeful, that's positive. People are home collecting their unemployment. They are not looking for work as much as I would have hoped they would be by now, but they are looking at going back to school. So we've been working with the Cayuga Community College. I have a meeting with them tomorrow, how to have a better streamlined referral process between us and the college and BOCES. But we definitely we probably have 20 to 30 training participants that we're going to enroll in training. We have spent $5,000 per customer. So that's big for us to have that many at once. We have multiple LPNs, RNs, CDL A and B, and another program that we're just seeing kicking off at CCC is the CASAC program. So that's the credentialed drug and alcohol counselor program that's new to CCC, just kicking it off. They've just put themselves on our eligible training provider list, so we can pay for that training. It's a 350-hour course. It's in demand. People are getting jobs, and we need that. There's an addiction problem, an alcohol problem in Cayuga County, and there's a lack of counselors. So we have people that we're funding in that program. So I'm excited about that. And we're using our training dollars and it's increased tremendously. So I feel that's a positive thing. That's about all I have to share tonight. Everything else is in my report.
Just a little side note, I happened to talk to somebody who works at the Holiday Inn, and because TRW had to backlog some of their product before they closed, they've been very busy for the last 6 months or so.
Yes, that's correct. BCS has been, most of their workforce is now separated. They are eligible for Trade Act. We haven't had a huge amount of BCS affected or trade affected employees from BCS want to go to training. For training for them, they do get $20,000 versus our $5,000 that we can do with WIOA. So it's $20,000. That's huge. I think we've had maybe 2 express interest in training. We've had a lot look to us to help them with their unemployment insurance claims, which is typical when any company closes. We do assist with unemployment and how to apply, and it's more of a challenge now because they're doing an ID system. So it's just a little more tedious, and we do get a lot of them for that. And also accessing healthcare, because when you're in the Trade Act program, you're eligible for some healthcare tax credits, and we assist with that. So we are seeing, I think they're winding down there. There's a few left, but most of them are separated.
Trish, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could talk a little about the non-custodial program.
Sure.
As well.
Absolutely. So the non-custodial parent program is a program that we have contracted with Department of Social Services through the Child Support Unit. Ideally, the program would be court referral based. So the court would refer a non-custodial parent, so somebody that owes back child support or potentially is in arrears and they're not paying their child support, and they're typically on collecting public assistance. So the goal would be they come to us, we help them either by retraining them, finding them a job, assisting them with job readiness and soft skills, and then they start working, and essentially they're paying towards their child support. In a perfect world. So we are not getting many court referrals. And so we had to start doing the outreach ourselves because the court just isn't sending us any. I'm not quite sure. It's something we've been addressing with child support. So what I do is I go through our, we also hold the jobs contract through DSS, so we see safety nets and family assistance. And I go through those names, and I find out through child support who has an open child support order. And then we reach out to them ourselves directly and pull them in because court's not giving us people. So we're serving them that way. We have probably 10, I think we have 10 or 12, I have to look at my report. Non-custodials participating right now. They fluctuate, they no-show, and there's not a lot of teeth in the program. So the way it was explained to us in the beginning is if somebody doesn't come in, there's potential jail time, which has happened. But right now, there's not a lot of consequences. So we just continue to reach out to them because typically they're not coming in because they have barriers. And so instead of closing the door, we continue to reach out. But we have had a lot of our non-custodials go to work and start paying on their child support. So that's promising. But that is definitely, it's a challenge to get the court to refer us and then to hold teeth to them if they not comply.
And the inmates, the stimulus money was going to the inmate instead of to the family. It's a big issue with that too. So, okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
After a year, it's good to see you.
Yes, it's been, it's a very fast year and it seems unbelievable that I've never been here in person. So thank you.
Well, stay safe. This politics is a dangerous game. Next. Who's up next? Let's see. Tracy?
Everybody, the only things that I'm going to add to my report at this point are that I did attend a public meeting in Aurora back in July. It was regarding their comprehensive planning that they're doing as they are exploring how to better plan for and accommodate business development in the village. The public meeting included public feedback from community members. It was very well attended, and the consultant was taking all of that feedback, and they were actually fast tracking the comprehensive plan. So we're hoping that they're hoping that that'll be done pretty quickly, and that they'll be able to address any of the concerns around business development in the village, making sure that their zoning is appropriate, and start talking about those kinds of issues. So I just wanted to talk about the economic development impacts of that and why that's important. Also, just recently, the play space opened their new location on Merce Street. It's lovely if you have young children in your lives that like to play. It's a great resource for the community. It's very affordable, and they really did a very nice job with the new facility. It's much larger. They have different spaces for different ages, and it's definitely worth checking out. And I did see that Wells did receive some funding for their water project through the NDRC, so we're happy to see that as well, which will be also a boon for the village of Aurora. But you probably know more about that.
Okay, so anybody have questions of Trace? Got a couple. On your thing, you have a spotlight new age renewable energy. I know you've been working with the people up north for the largest solar project in the state.
They've reached out to us and done some presentations.
And they've been before the Industrial Development Authority.
They did a presentation to the authority. There's not an active application yet.
So it's just in the planning stage. I know that, you know, some of the people were upset with the siting and not being able to have any input to, but how did you're not involved and
It has not gotten to our level yet. So once they come to the IDA, there will be a public hearing for the IDA, but they're still working through the state permitting process. So they have not even gotten to the point of submitting an application to the IDA yet. So we are aware of the project. They provide us with updates. They did a presentation just to keep us in the loop, but there's not an active conversation happening around any type of pilot or benefits yet.
Well, I'd be very interested in any kind of low-cost power, whether or not it comes from the New York State Power Authority, which, we've been trying to get a block of low-cost power there, but I mean, if this thing is being planted in our backyard and some of the residents are upset, hopefully one of the benefits would be to have a slice of that power to utilize here. And even though it's going into the New York State Power Authority's lines, on paper, we can get a piece of that, and I hope we're negotiating.
Yeah, I mean, that's all part of the state process. There's a local committee that's been assigned to that project to work through that process with the state. So that's,
Well, I mean, power is one of the hurdles with economic development, along with, workers' compensation costs. And so if we can get some kind of a advantage, that would be very helpful for us in the future,
you are correct.
such as, the largest user of electricity on NICEAG's grid is Auburn Steel or Nucor. So we don't want them going anywhere. Hopefully we can, as the costs rise on electric and delivery costs and revamping the whole system, hopefully we can negotiate before it's finalized. Anything else? Yes, Trish.
I just had a question about the Aurelius Industrial Park and the plans for the next phase of infrastructure and where that is. Currently, are there concrete plans for that?
So we have, phase one is substantially complete. They have a little bit of paving left to do, but the first phase is in the ground and operating at this point. Phase two, we have design documents. We're still finalizing a piece of the federal funding, but that is in the works. And once that is solidified, we can move forward with phase two.
Does it serve additional persons that are on development?
It
I
will.
haven't seen the plans.
Yep. So the intention with that project is to provide a dedicated sewer system for the industrial park, including potential future tenants. So it would serve as the two existing tenants, CMI and Grover, and then would also any new tenants coming into the park on those vacant parcels would be able to look into that. And it would be a dedicated service to the park specifically.
So that would be a force main.
It is a force main, so it's the existing gravity line that's currently servicing the park will remain in place and still service the rest of the district, and then it would be a bypass force main specifically for the park tenants.
That original main was put in the middle of the night, I believe. It's pretty crooked. It's not really level. So it would be nice to have a force main out there.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Anything else on the economic development?
No,
Reshore America or reshoring of, do we have anybody out in the field trying to capture some of that?
We've had some really good inquiries lately that we've been working and
I happened to be
giving
talking
them
to some
everything we got.
Washington types, and they said anything electric boats, electric machines that fly or anything like that would be, it's got a lot of money. Opportunity, I think that's how you look at it.
Yep.
So hopefully we got some salespeople out there pushing those projects. Anything else? Anything else for Trace? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see what else we got. Anybody else to report tonight? Doug? Oh, yeah. Just have to dig in the back of this, okay. Douglas, are you around?
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me? I'm here.
Nice to hear from you. How's things going?
Things are going well. just to give you a quick update on the weed harvesters. Some of you guys may have seen the boats on Owasco Lake. We're cutting the south end, hitting some pretty heavy weeds down there, trying to clear out the marina, the restaurant, and then we're going to work our way north. So we'll if you hear any questions, we're going to get to where we can get to and just keep plugging along. Boat's running well since it's been repaired, so that's good news. And we're also started down at Scott Gulf Road, big project working with the county and partnering with the highway department on. We've probably got about, we got at least probably maybe a quarter of the way through, several hundred feet installed with some stone and some armoring along the stream. That's also building the road up and packing the shoulder of that. So it's going along well, with the exception of the minor vandalism that some of you guys may have heard about. Not like, friendly neighbors smashing out your window of an excavator when you're trying to help people out. But what are you going to do? We got through it, and we're going to continue to plug along. A lot of groundwater coming in, but we got pumps going, and we're doing the best we can to keep the water clean and pump around. We also got a couple of larger ag projects that just started. We got another one going out to bid. So still taking advantage of the construction season. It'd be nice to get some drier weather, but it really hasn't been too bad. Been able to keep things rolling. And then you guys may have seen that we did worked with the Partners for Healthy Watersheds to conduct a nice little tour a couple weeks back. I know Trish, you were there, and Aileen showed up as well, and some of you guys possibly may have attended remotely or virtually. So it was a good tour. Got to see 3 different farms. Got to hear some pretty good information, and thought it went well. A little warm that day, but we'll take it. Didn't rain. So I'll be glad to answer any questions anybody has.
Questions for Doug? So the weed control, we're taking some of that nutrient out. Where are we placing the weed growth? On the farms?
Yep, they're going around pretty much up the hill off of Center Street right now. So, yep, getting them out of the water, putting them up on the land where other crops will utilize them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay. Nobody's got any questions for Doug? Okay. Thank you, Doug.
All right, thanks, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
See you, Doug. We got Cornell.
Good evening, everyone. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Can you hear me, Tim?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. Good. So just a couple things. Excuse the dog there. Couple things I wanted to touch on in my report. One is that we will be receiving some funding through the Chase New York initiative through New York State Ag and Markets to try to increase the number of Cayuga County farm and food businesses that can meet the Taste New York requirements and then be able to sell at the store at the Equal Rights Heritage Center and eventually to other stores and possibly through their online platform. Another thing, we did have our in-person 4-H county fair end of July. So I want to thank the staff with Parks Department, especially Doug and Tim Quill with the Ag Museum for their help in that being a successful event. And then do want to, our board has been taking a little bit of a look at some of our strategic priorities, especially now that our move to the community college has been completed, and look forward to sharing that strategic direction and where we're headed with the committee, hopefully sometime this fall.
Okay. Anybody have any answer or any questions for Cornell Cooperative Extension, Mr. Dan? Thank you, Dan.
Okay, have a good evening, everyone.
Tourism next, and that's Karen. Are you there?
I am indeed. Good evening, everyone.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Hopefully I'll be in person myself there soon too. Just wanted to go through the report really quick. I know it's getting late and everybody's anxious, so I will just go very quickly through it. I did add, as requested in the bottom of the report, a little glossary to identify the terms. The occupancy continues to go up and we're still doing better than 2019. That's great to see. Yet the revenue per available room is not as high, which means that the rates that are being offered are lower than they were previously. That is still a sign of recovery, that they haven't been able to get back to their original rates in 2019. I wanted to point out in the public relations section, July 31st, we hosted a Boston Globe writer who came and stayed the night. She visited a couple of vineyards, visited the Equal Rights Heritage Center, learned about the Harriet Tubman walking tours they're doing, as well as the Seward House Museum offers. And then she went and experienced the new spa at the end of Aurora. She wrote back saying that her experience was wonderful, and she looks forward to writing specifically about the history connection of our area in Cayuga County. She also visited Geneva, Canandaigua, and part of Seneca Falls. So the concept was drives from Boston, destinations you can drive from. We will be hosting next month, late August, I guess this month now, a writer from Philadelphia as well. And then she's here to cover specifically the Harriet Tubman story. And the Boston Globe writer also mentioned that she looks forward to coming back to cover the Harriet Tubman story for the bicentennial. So those are all great news. We are in conversations with Syracuse Channel 9 to do a Discover Cayuga County, like the one they did with Discover Oswego County. We have started listing out some potential destinations, shot areas in the county. We're looking to do some in the summer, fall, and winter. So it looks like a multi-season, and it'll probably air at the beginning of 2022, but all the filming will be done in 21. We continue with our outreach of the cultural tourism with highlighting Harriet Tubman and equal rights as a main reason to come visit the area. We did get approved for a PPP loan forgiveness, so that is great, and we got through that hurdle. And August is Finger Lakes Wine Month, so we've been doing a lot of outreach and information on our social media channels on that, highlighting the various wineries that we have in Cayuga County. There's lots of other small things going on, but those are the major stories. Oh, we're also looking forward to hosting CBS this Good Morning. And that would be based on dairy farm stories, the change that farmers have done for alternate products with dairy. This is a joint effort with CEDA. So we look forward to that. We're really excited about that one. And I will be happy to field any questions.
Trish has one.
Hey, Karen. Kind of hit on it a little bit, but I was wondering if you could expand on that CBS Saturday morning showcase of our dairy farms, and who's the target audience for that? And is there a date for that? Would it be a one-time show, or is that going to be a continuing thing?
It's a one-time show. I'm pretty sure we're doing Cayuga milk ingredients, and if Tracy's there, she can correct me. Who the other one is? It's escaping my mind right now. We have not set a date yet. There are conversations coming up in the next couple of weeks to determine the dates that they will come. And it is a one-time shoot, but it is a very intensive, and it's usually about 5-7 minutes of airtime in a prime network at a prime time. So we are looking forward to highlighting that. The lead came to us through one of the various PR companies that we work with. This one specifically is located in New York City, and they were doing a Story Regional, including Miranda Cheese, about the change in the dairy industry. I reached out to CETA for some leads so we can send along, and they absolutely loved it. So they are changing the story a little bit to highlight what's going on in Cayuga County.
That's great. Thank you.
I have a question. It's nice to see that you're using local contractors, Gwen Incorporated, Laylaw or Laylu Public Relations and Break the Ice Media. Are they local or where are they?
They are based out of the greater Rochester area. The reason they were chosen is because Break the Ice Media is one of the few public relations and advertising agencies that focus specifically in the tourism industry. And there are some very particular ways of reaching the travel writers that they are very particular to. The Loop Public Relations is a Black woman-owned organization. And with us highlighting Harriet Tubman, it was very important to keep the authenticity of the voice.
Okay. It's just nice if we can use local.
Yep,
Local.
absolutely. We try to use local as much as possible. For example, our annual meeting, we used all local products for our gift baskets of the departing board members. We had Reuse Refuge, Cafe 108, Quarry Ridge Wine. And then we had, what are they called? Salt of the Earth catering the event. So we always try to reach out and ensure we incorporate local partners. Our Sweet Treat Trail also sponsors and highlights all partners in Cayuga County. And we also have a gift basket that we do for that for our partners. So I hear you. It is very important to highlight and utilize local organizations whenever possible.
Yeah, I did see the Channel 9 news, I think, on 108. I did see that one. They were going around doing different stories on different things, so that's good.
Awesome.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I just had one thing, Madam Chairman, the pay that we had for lifeguards and what have you. I know that in the American Rescue Act, the premium pay, where would that be brought up? Would it be in government ops, or going to disperse some of that for our employees that worked through the pandemic? And you know, I think that, as I mentioned before, people who worked instead of stayed home, I'd love to be able to, and I think the Rescue Act does have some monies there. I don't know, do you use them at all, Kelly? I mean, is that part of helping people get back to work?
I mean, nothing that I've been directly involved in.
Yeah. Madam Chair, do you have any insight on that?
The premium pay is typically for, frontline workers who worked during COVID and who were public-facing employees. We do have a proposal to bring to the ledge along those lines, so we will be talking to you about that. But yes.
The full ledge?
Yep.
And that's going to be this month?
Yes. Just on pay. Not a full scale presentation on the rescue money. Just a pay situation. We're not calling it premium pay. We're not calling it anything like that. Yeah. It'll be shared with you all for your consideration. Talk about compensation plan.
Well, I think it's time that we respond to those people who stood up during this whole thing.
I agree. And in terms of lifeguards, and I know I spoke about this at our Parks Commission, to become a lifeguard and to go through the training, I think we should incentivize the training and pay for the training up front so that folks are invested in being trained and then will come to us and work for us. So that's something we should be looking for, because it's like $400, I guess, a lifeguard to go through training. So we should pay that tuition, I think.
Yeah, we should.
You still have the resolution.
Okay, so the resolutions, go ahead, call them out.
Mr. Chair, I'll move PL1, the authorizing a professional service contract award for electronic waste recycling services under the Cayuga County Solid Waste Management Program. Looks like they went out for 4 bids, they received 2 and are awarding it to the one they deem the best, so I will move PL1.
Thank you, Chris. Seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? So carried. Anything else before the board?
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried.
Hey.